We had him on before the Kentucky Derby. He was amazing. Of course he was, because you watch him on TV and he's always great. And just to give people a little peek behind the curtain, right? So just as we're about to come on, Randy Moss, who joins us now on the show, NBC Sports Horse Racing Handicapper, on Twitter at Randy_Moss_TV. We're about to come live, and we're talking about Randy's hotel room in the background. And Randy is literally he's producing the segment. He goes, I'm not sure which shot is better, shifts the computer one way. We see like outside, and there's a glare, right? And I don't even have to say it. No one has to say anything. Randy's just goes, no, this isn't good. And then he resets it back up. You look up consummate professional in the dictionary, Randy Moss, is there a picture of you? Yes or yes?
I had a choice. I could have also done this from a production trailer just off of the Pimlico Stakes barn, which looks like I'm in a jail cell. So this is this is cozier, I think, from my perspective.
Yeah,
at least.
It's cozy. And I'll tell you, thinking about betting on the ponies, man, gives me a nice cozy feeling here. So before we get into the handicapping of the race, where unfortunately Sovereignty's not running, because we'd all like to see if there's like a Triple Crown potential, right?
No.
What would you say? What would you say? Like, are you seeing the board here ahead of the Preakness this week? Mm-hmm. Like, how are you feeling heading into it?
I think Journalism is the horse to beat. If you remember, I thought that before the Kentucky Derby as well. The plus 160, looking at the line for the other horses, I think maybe just a little bit out of line. He's coming back in 2 weeks off of easily the most stressful race in his career. And so while he has the most talent of any horse in the race, there are reasons to maybe think that he might be overbet at plus 160. Of the horses on the list there that I see, the one that I think has the best chance to beat him is Clever Again, who's on there at plus 500. There's not as much early speed, front-running speed in this race as you might expect for the second leg of the Triple Crown for most Preaknesses. And he probably, the way I see it, is going to be able to control the pace, which is a huge advantage on dirt to begin with, and for 3-year-olds at this stage of their career. He's a talented horse, trained by Steve Asmussen. He has plenty of rest. He didn't run in the Kentucky Derby. The last 4 winners of the Preakness didn't run in the Kentucky Derby. So I think he's a pretty good play, honestly.
We had Eddie Olczyk on, one of your colleagues at NBC Sports, earlier in the show. Yeah. Eddie likes Edzo, likes Clever Again as well. Also asked us to send you a big hug, because we mentioned you were going to be on the show. And I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot about that until you just said Clever Again. And I'm like, now I get to do this here. So Edzo sends you his love. And both Eddie and Randy Moss like Clever Again in this race. Okay, Clever Again at plus 500 right now, the odds at our show sponsor, BetMGM. If we get past Clever Again, Randy, how do you handicap some of the other horses at the top of the board? Like, you gave us your thought on Journalism. The favorite, obviously, was a favorite in the Derby as well. We've got Sandman. We've got the River Thames. We've got Goal Oriented. What about some of the other horses towards the top of the odds board this week?
Personally, I think Sandman is overbet. He had, the way I see it, he had zero excuse in the Kentucky Derby. He was right behind Sovereignty, literally almost beside him, when the horses went into the final turn. And by the time they came out of that turn, Sovereignty's about 7 lengths in front of him. Sovereignty just took off, as did Journalism, and left Sandman behind. Now, the connections of Sandman are saying, well, it was a sloppy track. Maybe he didn't like the sloppy track, but it was just fine for Sovereignty. It was just fine for Journalism. It was just fine for Baeza. So to me, that's a little bit of a specious excuse. And at plus 400, I think he's going to be overbet. Plus, there's the whole social media component to this horse, which is fantastic for the sport, right? The influencer Griffin Johnson was posting all this fantastic stuff before the Kentucky Derby. And the fans just bet the you-know-what out of this horse, way more than the horse should have been bet. And it's all because of the social media exposure, right? In the post-parade, when his name was introduced, the crowd roars, and they didn't do it for any other horse. So he's gonna get that kind of following again in the Preakness. There's going to be more money bet on Sandman than I think his race in the Kentucky Derby deserves. And so I think I would take a stand against him. River Thames, third on the list. I like him much better than Sandman or Goal Oriented for that matter. Goal Oriented is okay. He's trained by Baffert. But to me, the winner is going to be either Journalism or Clever Again, who I would prefer for a price, or River Thames. Those three.
Well, it's interesting because like those three are kind of near the top of the odds board here. But I know like a lot of people with horse racing, Randy, that we all want the long shots. We want to bet a little bit to win a lot. Like, are any of those long shots, like American Promise didn't have the best race at Churchill Downs a couple weeks ago, but Pay Billy 20-1. Do any of these horses have any chance to be down the stretch kind of in contention for winning this race?
Pay Billy is not fast enough. He is a Maryland-based horse. And the Maryland connections, obviously, being locals, you really want to run in the Preakness because it's their race, it's their home track, it's their race. You see this all the time. He's just not fast enough. American Promise was obliterated in the Kentucky Derby. He got beat 37.5 lengths. A little bit of an excuse at the start, but not as much as you would like to bet a horse to make that kind of a turnaround. Wayne Lucas is the trainer. He had a similar horse last year who was beaten 30 lengths. A horse by the name of Just Steel, who ran back in the Preakness and got beat 11 lengths in the Preakness. So American Promise is kind of hard to like. Heart of Honor would be the only one I think you could play of the horses in the bottom three and play him to hit the board, not necessarily to run 1-2. He's a closer, so at least he'll be plugging along. He's probably got more talent than Pay Billy, and he's going to be 15 or 20-1. Goal Oriented is also a horse that you may want to throw in there a little in some trifectas and supers and things like that, because you got the Baffert factor. He's lightly raced, only 2 lifetime starts. He's going to have to show improvement to run with the likes of Journalism and Clever Again and River Thames, but it's possible.
You bet here on this Wednesday. We're joined by Randy Moss, NBC Sports horse racing handicapper. Watch NBC, the coverage of the Preakness coming up this weekend. Randy on Twitter at Randy_Moss_TV. Randy, I can't believe I'm asking this question, sincerely. Did not think I would be asking this. But something you said kind of triggered this for me, right? Because I remember watching the Derby on NBC, and I turn 42 next month. I'm going to be honest. I don't know who Griffin Johnson is. I know he's an influencer, though. He's got millions of followers on social media. And it really makes a lot of sense for influencers to kind of flock to triple horse racing in general, certainly the Triple Crown. Now, the better in me, right, hears this and hears you talk about it and thinks, wow, this is going to provide great betting opportunities, maybe against these horses that the influencers like. I'm curious, you're nodding right now. Do you obviously it's great for coverage of the sport that this happens. Also, I think this could be great for bettors. It sounds like you agree.
Yeah, going into the Kentucky Derby, I think we talked about this. I believe when we talked, I wasn't sure if Baeza was going to draw into the race or not.
That's right.
But the 3 horses that I liked in order, pretty much, were Journalism, Baeza, Sovereignty, with Sandman as a 4th. Okay, when we saw the betting all day, really Friday and all day Saturday, Journalism was the favorite, as he should have been, but Sandman was a clear second choice. There was far more money bet on Sandman than he really figured to generate based on past performances. And then my broadcast buddy Jerry Bailey and I were talking about that off camera and even on camera for a lot of Saturday. Wow, I mean, this horse is really getting bet. And it wasn't until later that I kind of put 2 and 2 together when I heard that as part of the social media Griffin Johnson Sandman promotion, they were giving out vouchers to twinspires.com for people to bet online and giving them, I think, $5 free credit. And there was this huge spike in business that Twin Spires had right before the Kentucky Derby. And my daughter, I've got a 22-year-old daughter. I'd never heard of Griffin Johnson either. Okay, I'm not on TikTok. I very seldom even tweet, much less Instagram. And when my daughter found out, she's 22 years old, big on social media. When she found out that Griffin Johnson was going to be on another podcast that I do, she said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Dad, this is huge." This guy is just gigantic. He's an influencer. He's got all these followers. And as it turns out, I mean, I think that had an impact, not just on the betting. We had 21 million people tune in to the Derby segment of the NBC coverage, the most since 1989.
Wow.
And I honestly think social media and the Griffin Johnson factor had a lot to do with that, at least something to do with that.
Should we start a campaign to get like Kylie Jenner to pump up American Promise here?
Hey,
everyone betting that horse get some value elsewhere?
Yeah, what my daughter told me is that she said, Dad, in the last 2 years, there has been more Kentucky Derby chatter, more Kentucky Derby presence with influencers, etc., than ever before. Some influencers are calling the Kentucky Derby the new Coachella. And companies are paying influencers now to come to the Kentucky Derby to post and promote their particular brands, right? So this thing is kind of taken on a life of its own, I think. And maybe after Griffin Johnson, I think perhaps you'll see a lot more of this coming up in the years to come, particularly in the Derby. Maybe not.
Who's your favorite influencer?
Griffin Johnson now. I can't name any other influencers.
That's a good answer. That's a great answer.
He's a good kid. He really is. I mean, he loves the sport, right?
Can I ask a question? Who is he?
Yeah.
And I don't say that derisively. He's way more famous than me. Like, who is he?
Yeah.
Who is this?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I've met him.
Like, it's amazing, right?
I've hung out with him a little bit at the track. I've met him. You know, I know he absolutely loves the sport. He's involved in all sorts of, if you look at his Instagram feed, which I actually did when I first heard about him. I mean, he plays basketball, he snowboards, he does all this stuff. He's very active. He's an outdoors type guy, and he's done a lot of horseback riding. So he is a horse fan. And he really has taken to horse racing. And he told me he is on a mission to introduce as many young people as possible to the sport of horse racing.
I mean, this guy's like our patron saint.
Yes.
I love him. Like, that's awesome. Like, I love Griffin Johnson. Let's get you out of here on this, Randy. Do you have a try or a super for our listeners and viewers in like 45 seconds?
45 seconds. Okay. Well, I would take journalism and clever again, back and forth at the top. I'd slide in River Thames underneath that, and then play Heart of Honor at 20-1 or so to clunk up and finish out the superfecta. How about that?
I love it. Name, besides for Griffin Johnson, just name an influencer.
I can't.
Just one. One influencer. Just name one.
And don't ask me any Timberwolves questions either, because I totally cuffed the last question you asked me 2 weeks ago about the Timberwolves. I said play against the Timberwolves, and you said I was wrong, and you were absolutely right. So
will the
And
Timberwolves beat the Warriors tonight? Will the Timberwolves beat the Warriors tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Steph Curry's going to play, right? And if he does, he may not be 100%. Yeah.
Okay, let's ask a better question here. 10 seconds.
Okay.
Minnesota, OKC in the Western Conference Final. Who wins?
OKC.
Wrong again.